Hello and welcome to Avio's Journey. My name is Anthony Pica. This show is all about helping the new and upcoming voiceover artists grow their business, sidestep all of the crazy things that I seem to step on. Happy Friday. It is the last day of June. We are only a couple of days from July 4th, so happy early July 4th. If you're having spending a holiday this weekend, have fun, stay safe, and again, happy 4th of July. I want to talk about today, something that I think is, a good question that a lot of people ask, and that is, how many hours do voice actors work? It's a good question. I get it a lot, especially with people who are new. They want to know, hey, how many hours do I need to work? How many hours does it take to be successful? How many hours do I need to work a day? And so we're going to talk about how many hours do voice actors work today. Real quick, before we get started, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. We are so close to 12,000 subscribers. Thank you so much for watching the channel and everything that you guys do. I really appreciate it. Also, make sure you check out the link below to Avio's Journey Elite Academy. We offer 50% off to give us a try the first month, and I'd love to help you start and grow your voiceover business. So, how many hours do voice actors work? It's a good question because there is no one answer. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try to kind of give you my opinion and thoughts and maybe good practices that you could take for your business, but know as a kind of precursor to this that there is no set hours standard that you have to work as a voice actor. That's the wonderful thing about what we do, right? It's up to you. It's your business. Okay. But with that being said, just like anything else, to be successful at it, you're going to have to put in time. And I want to say too that up front, the amount of time that you put in is the price that you pay to be successful. Okay? Because there's so many things that you're going to have to put time into other than just the work itself. Meaning like just, when you get a voiceover job, you do that voiceover job. But all of the things you have to do beforehand and during and then after, right? I mean, that's time that you've got to spend. And it's not a few minutes. Down the road when you get better, way down the road when you're faster, better things, you will, be able to go way faster. But when you're just starting out, there's so many things you've got to learn. There's so much stuff to set up. There's so many things to create. There's so many things to practice that, you need to spend hours and hours and hours. So for me, what I do now, and I think there's two types of scenarios we'll go with. One is if you are working a full-time or part-time job and you're doing voice acting on the side right now, or you are a full-time voice actor. Okay. And so we'll start with the first one. If you are working a job full-time or part-time and you're doing voice acting on the side. When I did that for a couple of years where I worked a full-time job. I would go to work at about 6 in the morning. I'd come home around 5. I'd pick up the kids. My wife and I would make dinner. We'd spend some time together with the kids, spend a little time with her, put her to bed around 10. I would put up my hobo fort, and then I'd work until about 2 or 3 in the morning. I would take it down because I had to put up and take down my hobo fort every night, and then I would sleep for a couple hours and then get back up and do it again. So I worked for anywhere from 2 to 4 hours a night is what I was working for a couple of years. And that now on weekends I ended up working more, probably 4 to 8 hours a day on weekends because I had more time. But that was typically how much I was able to work, and I worked every single day. Every single night, basically. And I did that for about two years. When I went full-time, I will say as a teacher, I was able to work a lot more during the summer. Okay. So I did work more hours during the summer, probably more like 4 to 6 hours a day during the summer and the evenings, because I didn't have work. But yeah, so that was basic, and that was every day. Now, as time went on and I got more busy, even during work, it started getting more like the hours started being longer. Like I was only getting 1 or 2 hours of sleep, if that, a night. And I was only able to do that for a couple of months until I had to leave my job and go full time. Now, as a full time voice actor, and this is something important too. As voice actors, we can work at any time of the day and night. I will say a couple of things first of your fatigue and the things that you go through. When I was doing all my work in the evening, I literally didn't realize this because it's the only time I had done it original, when I first started voice acting, was voice acting at night, late at night and early in the morning, right? That I was and you can go back and listen to my podcast, the first couple episodes of my podcast, because I started them in early 2018, when I was still working my full-time job. I remember being, just dead. Like I mean, I remember everything was like it was very I was very like and I didn't realize it at the time, but I was really fatigued and I was really tired because I had worked all day and I was going, on fumes. And so I tried my best to be upbeat and everything, but the fatigue does set in. I mean, if you're up, work, or even if you're active all day, and then you've been up for 18, 16, 18 hours, and then you're going to do voiceover, it's tiring. So anyways, the point is that that's part of being sub at night. So working during the day or earlier in the day is going to produce a better product. Or it depends on what time. There is a specific time of day for each voice actor I found that works best. Yours could be early morning. It could be late morning. It could be early afternoon, late afternoon. I mean, I typically find after late afternoon, a lot of us who are working jobs, that's the only time we can work. But I find that you get tired. So for those people who aren't working full time yet as a voice actor, just know as when you do go full time, your energy will shift, and there will be a lot more energy to do during in the middle of the day. All right. Anyways, so as a full time voice actor, when I went full time originally, because it was I left towards the end of the school year, right at the end of the school year, and I went into summer, so I was working there full time during some like as a voice actor, and I was doing the summer thing, and that wasn't a normal. But when school rolled back around in September of that year, I was doing like the daytime. Like I would get up, I wouldn't get up at 6, but I'd probably get up around 7 or 8. Have coffee, go to my. Oh, at that time I was in another home, and I'd go upstairs, and I would work at my studio upstairs in my house, and I'd work the full work day, like a business day, like 9 to 5 kind of thing. But then because I had the habit for years of working late, I was working late too. So I was working nonstop. And the funny thing is my business grew exponentially very quickly in that year or two. Now, mind you, that was right over also, I was 2019, 2020, we had COVID had hit, but I was working in voiceover. I went from working 2 to 4 hours a night, sometimes 4 hours to 6 hours a day, to literally like 16 hours a day on my voiceover business. And because I had the habit, and I did that for about another year or two, until I realized that I needed to. Okay, so just step back. I stopped that after a while because I realized I needed to put some parameters around how much time I was working in the voiceover business, because it was too much to sustain for me, right? Like I couldn't sustain it and stay sane. There comes a point where you start like. You're drooling at the screen or when you're doing work, and doing the voiceover work. I love the voiceover work. It's the work, because remember, the majority of the work you end up doing is all the work in between to get the voiceover work, right? And to build your business around getting the voiceover work. So that takes time. But anyways, I had also grown my coaching business. So there was a lot of hours I was spending doing a lot of stuff. So my business grew really exponentially working 16 hours a day. And then I had to step back and get to be, working back to like 8 hours a day, like a normal work day, because my family, my kids would go to school, my wife would go to work, and, I would then do, so here in this latter part in the last year and a half, well, I would say the last year, because it's been trying, because I moved, we bought a new place, I redid everything, as I followed, we bought a horse farm, et cetera, as you know the story. But I got back to really trying to work, an 8-hour work day, and deal with things during the day. That doesn't mean I can't come in here at night. Doesn't mean that, I know, but like I stopped doing stuff in the evenings because I did it for years and years and years. And I was like, it was not what I wanted to do anymore. I wanted to spend time with my family again. You know what I mean? I wanted to spend time with my family and friends at night, when I was done, when everybody was done working. So I've pretty much ended up sticking to that. Now I've gone back to working like a general work week like everyone does, and I take off the weekends. I've forced myself to do that because now I can work. Sometimes I come in on the weekend, and here, it's not like I have to go far, and I work or do something, if everybody's relaxing or if people are doing other things. But typically I try to do my best to force myself to stay away from my business at times, because I need that rest, right? You need that break. But when you're first starting out, like I didn't do that for the first 4 years of my business, 4.5, 5 years of my business, right? It's only been this last year, less than a year, that I've really forced myself to do this, because I've been in business almost 7 years now. So, that's something that I recommend you do later on. But in the beginning, you got to do what you got to do. I hope this gives you a little context. And I guess the whole point to this thing is, clearly the more hours you put in of concentrated work, the faster and the bigger you will grow. But it's not sustainable. So just know that you're not doing it, and it's not something you're going to be doing forever. It's something that you're doing right now in order to build something for the future. And that should be everything that wraps around your mind, especially with what you're doing with your business. What you're doing right now, okay, is building something for the future so that it's not going to be as difficult, right? At least that's how I looked at it. So hopefully this helps, all right, about how many hours does a voice actor work. Now, I'm going to go just one little caveat here with just a couple of little things that might help you. If you're still here, is that, like, for example, let's go a little more particular about it real quick. Like, how many hours does a voice actor work when they're hired and they go into a studio for recording? Typically, we get paid for 30-minute to 1 hour sessions, or in those time frames, right? So like an hour session, and I like charge for an hour recording session that's usually either directed or monitored, okay, like that. So that's something that you can do, and within that hour, whatever, it could be a 30-second script that they just want to record. Sometimes we might do it for 15 minutes, might be the whole hour, or it could be like a 10 to 30 minute or 10 to 20 minutes. Anything over 10 minutes in an hour with direction becomes hard, because people are usually stopping and starting. Well, it depends on the direction. I mean, if they're active directors and are trying to get multiple takes, you can, because usually you think about, 30 minutes of nonstop recording, and with pauses, with breaks, with screw ups and things like that, that could take about an hour. So with direction, 10 to 20 minutes max. So anyways, but I would say about, we do an hour chunks when we do like directed sessions and live sections. That's how we charge typically, right? A recording fee. When I'm doing voiceovers, right? When I'm doing them on my own and I don't have live directed sessions, 30-second spot takes me a couple of minutes. Because I've dialed in all my stuff. So I go in my booth and record, which is in there, and I come back out here, do quick edits, send it, etc. How much time does a voice actor work when it comes to auditioning? If you're auditioning, typically auditions should be taking no more than 5 to 7 minutes max, because you can't get in enough auditions if they're taking 10, 20, 30 minutes. So, you think about how many auditions, let's just say 7 minutes, right, out of 60 minutes. So, you're talking, you get like 8 auditions in about an hour. Okay. So, you're talking, if you want to really get work and be a working actor, you need to be doing 20, 30, 40 auditions a day, various sites, various places. They're going to, it also will be different depending on what you are, like what website you're on, how well those people are seeing the auditions, because you might be on one site, you might do 40 auditions and only get 20 of them seen. So it's like you did 40 in order to get 20 seen, and only a couple of those will be listened to, and maybe you get 1 or 2 will be actually taken seriously. So you'll then have to create, a little spreadsheet to determine how much you have to do, et cetera, et cetera. But if you start to, I've always been like I've always been very creative. I love the creativity and everything, but I've also loved analytics, of seeing like how much do I need to do, how can I build a system around, how many do I need to do so I can anticipate and predict what work and how many hours I have to work in order to get results. Does that make sense? So, you start breaking it down like that. And as you're practicing, which does take time, all right, it takes hours to get this down, like to a science, meaning like, I know that I need to do this many auditions to get this much work, which generates this amount of money, which then I can manipulate those times and the hours in order to make more money or less money, et cetera, right? I like to formulate it like that. That takes time as well. So I wanted to just put that in there because there's also a little bit more applicable things instead of the 20,000 foot view of philosophy about how many hours you work a day. Okay, but basically, as a voice actor, you are a business owner and you're building a business. So it takes you as long as it takes in order for you to get it right. Okay, if you are coming in with a scenario like I did, where you only had a couple hours a night, do the best that you can. But it's going to take you time in order to just wrap your mind around everything anyways. And I mean, voiceover is a massive industry that spans around the world, and it is incredible. I mean, we are the arbiters of messaging, right? And communication. We really are. Okay. And it is a nonstop changing, evolving business. So there's a lot to learn. So give yourself some time to learn it and a break. Don't go into this thinking, I'm going to spend a few hours, I'm going to start making tons of money. If you see those commercials that say you can do this with your phone, I mean, don't believe any of it. It's all baloney. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. You can do it. Just take some time, learn, give yourself a break, keep taking a step forward. Even if you take one step forward, it's great. I had a quote the other day in the academy that said, basically, a inch of movement is better than a mile of intent. I love that. An inch of movement is better than a mile of intent. I'm going to leave you with that. You guys have a wonderful Friday and a great weekend. Happy 4th of July. See you all later. Goodbye.